the 310th chapter meeting. I'm Johnny Xu and the Toastmasters of the day. I believe we're all having a special time these days, the new norm of life because of this COVID-19. And because of this, we have adopted a special meeting arrangement like this, the online gathering. So for this meeting, we have a special program also. The specialty is that we have no ice-breaking section, no prepared speeches, and no table topic speeches, as we usually do in a normal meeting setting. But for this meeting, we have a workshop, and this is the only agenda for today. And of course, we also have a club president opening and closing speech before and end. So first of all, let's welcome our special workshop speaker, distinguished Toastmaster King Fon. The workshop topic is already displayed on the meeting program sheet. So that is how to think and sound smarter at work. Quite interesting. So hope you spend a good time with this meeting and have fun. So now, first of all, let me invite our club president and competent communicator, Jerome Lee, to give us an opening address. Jerome, please.
Thank you, Johnny, for the introduction. Go! When I think of the word champions, my favorite football club, Liverpool, comes to mind. Not just because they're on their way to winning their first ever Premiership title in more than 31 years. Not just because they're also champions of Europe last season, but more so because, to me, they are the epitome of defying the odds, believing in themselves, and also never giving up. I remember, and I'll never forget that fateful day way back in 2005. I remember I was still 16 years of age, taking my O-levels in secondary 4. And I remember as a student, waking up in the middle of the night at 3:30 a.m. to watch this football match. And I remember feeling very devastated when Liverpool went 1-0, 2-0, and then 3-0 down, all within the first half. At halftime, I was feeling very disappointed. I was feeling devastated. Should I go back to sleep? Could I continue to watch my team lose for the next 45 minutes? Thankfully, I decided to stay on. When Liverpool captain Steven Gerrard at that time scored a goal header, making it 3-1, I felt a glimmer of hope within me. Was there a slim chance that we might fight back? Later on, there was another goal being scored. It was 3-2. When the chance came for Xabi Alonso to equalize, to make it 3-1, but he missed the penalty. I felt my heart skip a beat. But thankfully, he managed to hit in the rebound, and it was 3-3. 3 goals and 6 minutes was all it took, and Liverpool had drawn level. After a penalty shootout, after 90 minutes, Liverpool were crowned champions of Europe. Last year, I had the opportunity, of course, before the crisis set in, to travel to Anfield, Liverpool's home stadium in England itself. And seeing the Champions League trophy in real life displayed right in front of me allowed me to relive those championship memories once again. And I hope that the next time I go back to Liverpool, I go back to England, I go back to Anfield, I hope I will have the chance to see the 19th Premiership crown. So the English Premier League is restarting on the 21st of June, and I hope that next season I'll get the chance to see the trophy when I next visit Liverpool again. So sorry to any Manchester United fans who are within this meeting. So this trip to Anfield made me think back to that moment 15 years ago. It reminded me of what it's like to be a champion. Being a champion is not just about winning, and we can all be champions in our own right. Being a champion means having this never say die attitude, never give up. And it means that even though you are 3-0 down, you're on the losing end, you believe you still can win, you still can fight back. And even if you do not win, the game is still worth playing. Being a champion means never giving up on a challenge and saying yes to a challenge when others are saying no. So the fact that all of you are here today, joining Toastmasters, joining this workshop today, shows something. You could have stayed clear of public speaking forever and said no, but you chose to say yes. On the day you sign up for Toastmasters, you chose to say yes. I'm going to improve my public speaking. I'm going to conquer my fear of public speaking. There's one step towards being a champion, towards being a winner. Being a champion also means having a growth mindset. Imagine a lobster when it's growing. It seems like it's a painful process. The lobster can tell itself, I don't want to grow. If it has a fixed mindset, it tells itself it doesn't want to grow. And imagine what will happen. The lobster will stay small forever. But if you have a growth mindset and you want to challenge yourself, tell yourself that it's okay to make mistakes and always seek to improve yourself and be willing to come out of your comfort zone. Again, you're one step closer to being a champion. Being a champion also means being a better you than you were yesterday. So it doesn't matter if you have lost against somebody else. It's as long as you are better than you were yesterday. That's why kids often, when parents often call their kids champ when they have done well, even though it's perhaps they have a child could have gotten perhaps 70 marks for his exam previously, but now he has gotten 80 marks. He's still not the best student in class, but he has improved from what he was yesterday. So the parent will tell the kid, well done, champ. You are a champion. So being a champion is also telling yourself when you have finished the end of the road, you want to say, I'm thankful that I've done all this. Thankful that I've done all I wanted to in life and have no regrets. That is also another step to being a champion. So as Henry Ford once said, if you think you can, or if you think you can't, you are also right. So today we are proud to have a Triple Crown champion with us, Mr. Ng Kim Fong, DTM, to share some of his experience to spur us on towards being champions in our own right. Our club has also recently received championship status in the form of the President's Distinguished Club Program. And who knows, all of you here today, perhaps one of you might be the next champion representing Bukit Timah CC Toastmasters or your own Toastmasters club as the next international speech, next humorous speech, or the next table topics champion. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Jerome, for encouraging and this legendary match commented by Thomas. It is. So there's two key words there: match, champion, and perseverance. So for this, I am delighted to have a meeting proper. We were going to start the workshop by a special visiting Toastmaster from Tampines, Champion Toastmasters Club. He will be sharing in the next 120 minutes about how to think and sound smarter at work. That's a cool 2-hour speech. The speaker is a 2020 district triple champion for the international speech, humorous speech, and table topics contests. As a corporate trainer and professional coach in presentation and communication skills, he has trained over 8,000 people in the art of communicating effectively. His personal mission is to inspire others to inspire, and he believes that every person is a star waiting to be shined. So let us put our hands to welcome distinguished Toastmaster King Fong.
Okay, hi everyone. Fantastic evening. It's really, really good to be here at Bukit Timah, Bukit Timah Toastmasters. And thank you, Club President Jerome, for that inspiring speech. Sometimes it's when the chips are down that you find the motivation to really soar into the sky. All right, so I'm really, really thankful to be here, really to be given this opportunity to share what I know. And of course, for all of you who have heard this workshop before or some variant of it, my apologies that you're going to hear a lot of the same things again. But all the same, I've tried to change up some of the content so that you learn something new every time. As with all Toastmasters meetings, I think a lot of the time we attend the meeting because we are supposed to, and we forget that there's so much learning to be had. There's so many takeaways we can get if we only sit up and listen. So on that note, before I begin, I have to demonstrate that I too need to listen. So on that note, can I actually have everyone use the chat function, right? Can I have everyone use the chat function and perhaps share one or two things in the chat that you would like to get out of today's session, right? Can you share one or two things that you would like to get out of today's session? Can you just type it in the chat box? And the reason why I'm asking this is, I know that I have slides, but if my slides are not useful for any of you, I would have wasted all of your time. So I don't want to waste your time. I want to add as much value as I can. I want to give you whatever you came for. So please put your thoughts on the chat with regards to what you want to get out of this session. Okay, I see how to think with structure, how to be smarter at work, how to impress my boss and bosses, sound competent at work, how to speak such that people will listen, effective communicating. Okay, how not to sound dumb. Okay, definitely this workshop is going to cover all of this. How to limit or manage emotions while at work. Okay, Anil, on this part, this is a very, very crucial topic, right? Especially in very stressful times that we live in. However, that is beyond the scope of this presentation for today. So if you want to, perhaps we can engage after the session, right? And I can answer your questions too. Okay, from Joan, it's the same thing for negotiation skills, although I will share some tricks you can use to help you in the negotiation itself. Okay, from Kim Chang, think and speak off the cuff. Okay, think and react fast. Those we will do. Diverting a crisis at work depends on the origin of the crisis. If the crisis is going to come from your mouth, then yeah, perhaps what we'll talk about here will be relevant. Okay, how to be convincing. That will be covered within sounding smart. Okay, from Max, speaking effectively. Okay, great. So if there are any more, just keep them coming. I will have my eye on the chat as much as I can. So if I don't answer your question by the end of this session, we will have some time at the end for a Q&A, and maybe we can use that time to sort out some of the questions that aren't covered by the presentation, right? And on that note, I'd like to share a little bit about what Max just said about speaking effectively. I think in Singapore especially, a lot of us have this idea that, oh, if my grammar is not perfect, I'm not a good speaker, or I'm not a good communicator. And I want to re-emphasize that nothing could be further from the truth. Why do I say that? Because speaking effectively doesn't always require perfect grammar. Now, don't get me wrong, it's important, yes, but it is not the most important thing. You could speak with perfect grammatical sentences, but if your words don't move the audience, they don't leave any value, or they leave your audience feeling sour or bitter at the end of it, chances are you're not a very effective speaker, even with your perfect grammar. On the other hand, even if I don't speak with perfect grammar, maybe I talk Singlish, maybe I say like that, But if you know what I'm saying, you can see what I mean. Isn't that more powerful? So on that note, for all of you here who feel like you're not a great English speaker, don't worry. All I ask is that you try and see what you can learn from this. And later we will have some practice for table topics as well. For the non-Toastmasters in this room, table topics is a segment in Toastmasters that we conduct regularly to get people warmed up to the idea and tuned up to the skill of impromptu speaking and speaking off the cuff. So just for the audience today, this presentation is geared towards answering questions at work. And why do I say that? Because a lot of the time, how we appear, whether to our bosses or our colleagues or our friends or our clients, is based on the way that we speak. And I recognize that we all have different accents, we all have different speaking habits, and we all have perhaps different experiences, and our brains work differently as well. But hopefully with what I share today, you'll be able to take some of this out and make small changes, just small changes to the way that you think and speak to create huge differences in the impact for the people listening to you. Okay, so with that in mind, let's carry on. Oh, hang on, let me see how to convince your boss. Yeah, there are some ways to do it here. I'll try and focus a little more on that, as well as how to recover from brain freeze quickly and give an intelligent response. Okay, we'll do that. By the way, I recognize that answering the boss well is a primary concern for anyone in employment. I do have to say though, and disclaimer, that it is possible that you give the best response to your boss, but he doesn't like your answer. That can totally happen. So for what it's worth, whatever you learn here will make you more effective. I cannot guarantee it will make your boss love you and give you 5 promotions in a row, but at the very least, you won't look so stupid and you will sound smart. Okay, so let's carry on. Oh yes, same case towards your partner. Okay, so quite quickly, this presentation is geared towards some common mistakes that people make while answering questions. Now, I've won the table topic district championship twice, but I still make some of these common mistakes. So here's where every time I do this presentation, it's a good reminder for me of what I should not be doing. So if I happen to make these mistakes later, please feel free to call me out on it in the chat. All right, so I'll know whether you've been participating or not. Next thing is answering questions effectively. So as mentioned earlier, a lot of the time, whether we're doing presentations, we might have to answer Q&A, or maybe we submit a proposal and the boss asks us some difficult questions, or maybe it's just a review or quarterly review or biannual review, whatever it might be, where the boss asks you some difficult questions to assess your ability. Or maybe it's interview for a new job. You get thrown a curveball question. How do you answer some of these things? So these things I learned about answering questions will definitely help you ace the answer, okay? And of course, some time for Q&A. Sounds good? Okay, great. By the way, all of you with your cameras turned off, if you do turn them on, that would actually help me, because I believe that this session, although I'm conducting it, and I will be spending most of my time speaking, when I see your facial expressions, I will know whether you understand what I'm saying or not. So if for whatever reason I'm speaking too quickly or I don't make sense, and I see perhaps Belinda's face is like, which indicates, you know, she's confused, then I will know, okay, maybe I need to explain with more clarity. Or if I'm speaking too quickly, or maybe my internet connection goes off, yeah, please use the chat. Please find some way to let me know that you can't hear what is being said, or you didn't think that I explained it clearly. All right. No point if I spend 2 hours talking, I think it's the best presentation, but all of you get nothing, right? This is about you. It is about your learning. And so please engage me. This is a conversation. All right. So now let's go on. Just a little bit about myself. I'll cut it short because I want to save more time for Q&A. This picture was taken when I was 15, but I know I actually really look like I'm 12 or 13. And the problem with looking young at a young age is that in school, don't you look at the people around your age, right? Perhaps people you find attractive. When I was 15, I was looking at 15-year-old girls, but they didn't see a 15-year-old boy. They saw an 11-year-old boy. And so every time there was a girl that I liked, I would muster up my courage, go up to her, try and put on a brave face, act cool, comb my hair to one side. Oh, sorry, that time was center parting, right? The Aaron Kwok days. And I'll say, will you be my girlfriend? And the answer was always the same. Oh, JC doesn't see my screen sharing. Can somebody help her with that? Or is it him? I'm not sure. JC, yeah. Could somebody help JC with that? So let me carry on. Yeah. And of course, you can imagine the answer was always the same. Oh, you're just a little brother to me. I don't want to ruin the friendship. Right? I was bro-zoned again and again, forever alone. And the rejection got so bad. It got so bad that I couldn't look a girl in the eye because I felt I was unworthy. I felt that I was just not good enough. I thought I would never grow up. And I lost that ability to speak. It didn't help that back in school, in primary 1, I remember my first day of math class, my teacher asked the class, how many of you know the numbers 1 to 10? So I raised my hand, me. Teacher said, okay, stand up. What is 7 minus 3? So using my fingers as a 7-year-old would do, 7 is this, 7 minus 3, 5. And of course, the whole class laughed. The teacher said, you are stupid. You should sit down, shut up, and listen. And so I never raised my hand in class. Not for all my days in school. So you can imagine having that kind of low self-confidence, low self-esteem, but something happened. Yeah, terrible teacher. I think MOE guidelines don't allow that kind of behavior these days. But back then it was different, right? They had wooden ruler, metal ruler, whatever they have, they can whack you with it. And so something happened after school, right? And I'm sure the Singaporean guys here will know it's national service. And I remember reporting to the doctor, and the doctor said, so, Kin Fong, so you want to be a commando or not? I was thinking, commando, what's that? He said, you know, like special forces, you become very fit. You can jump off aeroplanes and you kill people with staring at them. I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. But me, a kid wearing spectacles with asthma and a squeaky voice that still hadn't broken yet, can me? He said, you want not? I thought, try lah. And so he sent me to commando camp. First day alone in camp, I did 400-500 push-ups. And day after day, I was beaten down. Whatever was left of my self-esteem was totally gone. I was told that I was a maggot. I was the crap that maggots eat. I'm the crap that maggots eat that comes out of other maggots. Right? I was the lowest life form. But they had an interesting sense of humor. They would paint motivational quotes on the wall. Like it or don't like it, take it positively and move on. Or tough times don't last, tough men do. And my favorite one, pain is good. Extreme pain is extremely good. So somehow, day by day, I found myself becoming stronger, and I eventually became a commando officer. And so today in my reservist capacities, I serve the commando unit as a captain, and I can't really talk about what I do, but you know, things changed. I became a leader, and all it took was that one decision way back then in the doctor's office to try law. And of course, being a leader in the army means you have to speak publicly. You have to issue commands. You have to order your men around. And that's where Toastmasters comes in. Learning how to speak, learning how to communicate effectively, learning how to motivate, encourage, and inspire. And today as a coach, that's what I do for people who I get to coach. Yes, it really is a privilege to do so. But why I shared this story, it's really not so much about me, but what I learned that I hope you will take away today. If you forget everything in this presentation, I hope you remember the 2 words that changed the course of my life. And those 2 words in Singlish, try law. Because when you don't try, how do you get better? Okay? So for those who are not Toastmasters, do know that Toastmasters is an organization for you to build your leadership and communication skills. And the only way to get good at it is not just to learn about it, but also to try law. So can I have everybody try today? Use the chat to respond. Some of you have your cameras off. I can't tell whether it's a yes or a no.
Yes.
Okay, got that. Thank you. Cool. So now I'll move on. So quite quickly, just so you all know, because this is a work-centered kind of a presentation, right? Some of the factors for peak performance here include, and I'm sure you will know this, mindset, right? If you don't believe you can do it, chances are you won't. As well as knowledge, knowing how to do it, right? And I'm sure today, at least in this presentation, you will increase your knowledge in terms of effectively communicating, in terms of being able to say more powerful words, right? That make you sound smart. But last but not least, without skill. And this part, usually people don't really do. It's kind of like losing weight, isn't it? Can I just check, how many of you here in this room have wanted to lose weight or have a healthier lifestyle? You've wanted to do this for a long time, but you have not started exercising or dieting. Anyone? Yes, Thomas, thank you for your honesty, right? So either something's wrong with the mindset and that, I don't want it bad enough, or maybe it's the skill. You don't know what, or you don't know how to exercise effectively, or you don't know how to diet effectively. Knowledge everybody has. We know that we need to eat less, exercise more, right? But how many of us actually can do it? So you need all three of these things, whether in communication, whether in presentation skills, whether in public speaking, maybe even being a good partner or spouse, right? It all begins with these three things. So I hope you take this away with you as well, all right? And at least for the rest of this session, okay? So quite quickly, mistake number one. If you've ever spoken on stage in public, have you thought, oh man, so nervous. What if I forget my speech? What if they don't like me? What if I fumble? What if I trip on the way up to stage? What if did I button up? Is my tie crooked? I didn't cut my nose hair. My hair is wrong. What if my voice breaks halfway? What if the slides fail? What if? Have you experienced that before? And when you have those thoughts in your mind, does it make you feel more confident or less confident? Yeah, naturally less, right? And the funny thing is, when we are an audience and we look at people on stage, I think sometimes when we look at people on stage, we can tell who's really confident and who's nervous but trying to be confident. Have you seen those cases before? Maybe you are one of them, right? I was certainly one of them. First time on stage, very nervous. I'm like, good evening, everybody. My name is Kin. Looks terrible, doesn't it? Right? And so this is the first mistake. And it is a mistake that so many people make, whether they are leaders, teachers, speakers, trainers, right? Politicians. And that mistake is when they think it's all about them. Why is this a mistake? Because if all you can think about is yourself, how are you going to focus on your message? If all you can think of is yourself, how are you going to focus on communicating effectively? Right? I understand, yes, you are the one speaking, but why is the audience there? They're there to get something from you. So it's not about you, it's about them. In the same way that we communicate, right? Sometimes we say the things we want to say because, wow, I'm so angry, I feel like I have to say it. And then once you say those words, there's this Chinese proverb, right? 祸从口出. Disaster comes from your mouth. So when you say what you want to say, sometimes it creates an impact that's not great for the audience or for yourself. So this is really the first rule in communication. It's really not about you. It's about your audience. Because when they understand you, then you get what you want, right? So how do you make that audience, or rather, how do you think about your audience? How do you make it about your audience? You can remember, it's a conversation. The same thing that I started this presentation with, right? I can see earlier as I said some of these things, some of you are nodding your heads. So good, I know it makes sense to you. right? It is about the audience. It is about a conversation. You can see from reactions, are they accepting this idea? Are they rejecting this idea? Did they understand? Did it make sense? And also to think about speech value. Remember that at least in Toastmasters, you have 5 to 7 minutes to say your piece. What can you say in this 5 to 7 minutes that will make a difference for the people listening? Why should they listen to you? Your speech should always answer the question of what's in it for them. So if you ever get asked a question, sure, you might have some really funny thoughts in your mind, but you must remember, how does what you say add value to your audience? Whether it is a table topic or an interview or a question and answer, think about how do you add value to what you say? So think about what connects. So what are some of the things that we can all relate to as humans? Anyone? Let's use the chat. Let's see. What are some of the things you think can connect to all humans? Smiling, absolutely. How to do single eyebrow? Okay, I'll share that shortly. Football, emotion, food. Okay, what else? Health, family, physical or body language. Okay, money. The want to be understood and accepted. Interests, being comfortable with yourself, emotions. By the way, weather. Okay, definitely weather does connect us, but not that much to talk about. Stacy, personal sad stories. Johnny, your own story. And it's true, because if you think about what really connects, perhaps you haven't gone through my story. Maybe you weren't rejected by 7, 8 girls in a row, right? All the girls I've ever dated have all dumped me, right? I've never broken up with any girl. Why? Because I don't want to be responsible for breaking their hearts. So somehow I get dumped instead. So maybe some of you can't relate to this, but can you relate to the emotion of feeling useless, feeling unwanted, feeling rejected? We've all been rejected at some point in our lives, haven't we? If you haven't, I'm not sure why you're here. But all the same, talking about the emotions and the experiences common to humanity, those are the topics that will hit home. Those are the topics that if you're in sales, those are the topics that will get your client to buy, right? When you can use emotions in your speech, that connects us. So to use, or rather to encounter those emotions, think about some of the common themes that we talk about, and some of you have already listed it in the group chat. By the way, if you're looking to craft an international speech worthy of a contest, all of those ideas there are great. Maybe except weather, unless you can link weather to emotions, or you can find a way to control the weather, right? So think about some of these common themes, or talk about your own experiences. If you've ever heard a Toastmaster speech about my trip to Bangkok, fantastic evening, everybody. I went to Bangkok. Wow, first day I went to Pratunam. I bought so many cables, and then I bought power banks. I did this and I went to Platinum Mall. I bought 20 dresses and 20 pens, and I came home very happy. And so I'm just looking forward to going to Thailand again. Thank you. Okay, did you just feel like the last 30 seconds were a bit of a waste of time? Yeah, so that's the speech value. Those who have been to Bangkok and love shopping can relate to the experience. But you want to think, on top of the experience, then where's the value of narrating that experience? What did you learn from that experience, right? Is it that perhaps we are more fortunate in Singapore? Or perhaps travel is one way to broaden your horizons? Or when you travel, you learn about different cultures, you see different things, or you found independence by traveling alone. Find some value within that experience that you have that could make a difference to your audience. That way, your words sound a lot more impactful, and people will want to hear what you have to say. Okay, so far so good. Can I just get a nod or a thumbs up or a yes in the chat? Okay. Any questions so far? If you do, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions, because once again, this is a conversation. Any? You have 5 seconds to say anything. 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, moving on. Great. Let's go to mistake number 2. Jang, jang, jang. Do you have friends like that? They're talking and talking, or they complain. And then after complaining about father, complain mother, complain government, complain everybody. And then you say, friend, I just asked you what you want to eat for lunch. Right? So sometimes we get lost in our own story or our own telling or answering of a question that we forget the question. And I know for you Toastmasters, some of you forget the table topics question. Right? You catch an idea, you got the story, you start moving on, and what was I talking about? Right? So this is one big mistake that happens to a lot of us. So what are some ways we can do, or what are some tricks we can use, right, to come back to this? Well, firstly, in table topics, you have a slip of paper in a physical meeting, right? So look at that. And if it helps, you can read out that question so that you remember it. And remember that as the question you must answer at the end, right? By focusing at the end point, it's easier to come back to it. But what are some other ways to make sure that you don't commit this grave mistake of not answering the question? By the way, if your boss asks you a question and you don't answer it, doesn't look good, even if it's well thought out. Because sometimes bosses are like, I don't want a long story. Tell me yes or no. Then how? Right? So on that note, okay, I'm going to skip this. Basically, this is saying that our brains work in circuits. And when you answer the question, you close the circuit. If you don't, people get grumpy. Right? When you don't get the answer that you want, yes or no, sometimes you get grumpy. So close that circuit. Right? To demonstrate how the open circuit gets annoyed, I will leave that for later during Q&A if we have some time. All right? So on that note, what are some other things you can do? First, if you can, summarize by restating your answer. If you need to, ask the question again and then answer the question directly after giving the whole context of it. For example, if this is a work proposal, right? Boss is saying, should we do A or B? And maybe in your answer, well, on one hand, A has a lot of good stuff. On the other hand, B is also very good. So yeah, so what's your answer? Right? So restate your question. Restate your answer. So I would say, if the circumstance is like this, I would choose A. But if the circumstance is like that, I would choose B. So boss, which circumstance are we in? Right? So by restating that answer, you let people close that loop so they know you've answered the question fully. Right? Other things you can do to sound a bit smarter. Add a quote. Why quotes? Because the only reason why we know those quotes is because enough people found it powerful, engaging. So they've repeated it over the years to the point that we now actually know some of these quotes, such as, you don't have to be good to start, but you have to start to be good. Right? I'm not sure whether it was Jim Rohn or Zig Ziglar who said it first. Or what are some other quotes? Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Right? Or even Lee Kuan Yew's, if something is wrong, I will get up from the grave. Right? So the idea behind quotes is that if you're not someone who feels, I can think very quickly, I can link ideas and say something smart, then go and prepare a book of quotes. Just prepare a little list, maybe 5 to 10 quotes that you can use every now and then to make yourself sound smart in the presentation. Why? Because they work. And you borrow their wisdom to sound smart. I see Joan nodding, she's like, makes sense. Yeah. When a quote is well delivered, people will go, And then who looks good? You look good. Whose words? Somebody else. Does it matter who? Not really. Right? So use quotes where you can. If you're not sure where to find good quotes, just search on Google. Good quotes. And maybe add your topic. Good quotes in management. Good quotes in engineering. Good quotes in sales. Good quotes in confidence. Good quotes in taking action. Whatever it is, there's probably a quote there. All right? So try to have a few quotes in your arsenal. Next, humor. Okay, on that note, I know Singaporeans are very stressed. That's why we all like humor. And if you look at the trend, at least from contests in speaking, we find that those with humor in their speeches tend to be perceived better. We like listening to jokes because our life is too stressful. When we can laugh at something or anything, we feel good. And don't we all like feeling good? Is there anyone in this room that really, really prefers crying and feeling bitter over laughing and feeling happy? If you do, well, okay. But if you're normal, okay, I won't say that's abnormal, but rather, I think most people would enjoy laughing more. I laugh as much as I can. I think about all the rejections that I've had. I turn them into humorous stories. So when I look back, I laugh at the pain. And hopefully, anyone I tell the story to will laugh with me. Right? If you want to, you can search on Google, so on YouTube. I think I have this speech called The Tragic Comedy. I was telling a story about how I was rejected by two best friends. I mean, I like them one after the other, not at the same time, right? But they both rejected me and they both got attached to identical twin brothers. It was terrible. It felt like being rejected by the same guy twice. Okay, but anyway, I laugh about it then. You can watch the speech if you want. So on that note, for humor, some people ask me, hey, so how to be funny? One good way to not be funny is to try to be funny. Okay, sorry, that's not very funny. But the point here really is that sometimes if you try to be funny in a speech, you're like, how come nobody laughed at my joke? Right? Maybe you spend hours crafting that joke, thinking about the funniest things, but people don't laugh. Well, here's the thing. When you're on stage, we often think that we need to be a different person. We have a different stage personality that has to speak in a certain way. But that's not necessarily the case. Because if you only train for your humor on stage, you don't have the practice in delivery. You might have the knowledge, you might have the mindset, but do you have the skill? So how do you practice being skillful at humor? First question, do you ever tell jokes to your friends? Second question, off the top of your head, how many jokes can you remember? Third question, how often do you actually tell jokes and get laughs? So if you don't tell jokes at all, how do you expect people to laugh with you? True or not? If I have the mindset, wow, I'm the strongest weightlifter, I have the knowledge, I know when I lift the weight, I must hold my elbow firm, then I pull the thing. Do you think I'll be able to lift a 20 kilo dumbbell without trying at all? Probably not. So it's the same thing. If you want to add humor in your speech, practice humor on an everyday basis. Some of my friends who are professional MCs, they tell me that they use Google Keep and they archive jokes. Some of them have an archive of 1,000 over jokes. So all they do is, oh, okay, I'm doing a dinner and dance. I'm allowed to make fun of the management. Then they search for management joke and they have like 6 or 7 jokes. Or they're doing it for an engineering company. They search for engineer jokes. So there's jokes of all sorts and you can find all these on the internet. Borrow the joke first, practice on your friends. If your friends say, hey, don't be lame lah, you say, it's okay, I'm trying to be funny. One day you will laugh. And the day that they laugh, you will know that you've developed that skill. Or if they keep rejecting you, then maybe practice on your dog or practice on your kids because they can't really say no, or practice on your spouse because, you know, they're obliged to listen, right? So practice, practice, practice. So that by the time you get on stage, humor is instinctive. Humor is natural, right? You can watch videos of humorous people such as Trevor Noah. You can watch videos by Gabriel Iglesias. Actually, let me type it out on the chat in case you need to search, right? Okay. I really like Trevor Noah. There's Gabriel Iglesias, also known as Fluffy. Some people like this guy called, what's his name? Joe Coy, is it? I can't remember how to spell his name. Is it Joe Coy? Okay, something like that. Filipino American, I think. Really funny as well. And there's so many different comedians. So go and watch them. Notice how they tell their jokes. Notice what they do. Watch more stand-up comedy. Dave Chappelle is a great person to start with as well. Although it's a lot more American context, right? So learn from the best, then try it out. Okay? And last but not least, if you can, try to include a call to action when you conclude. Why is that important? Wouldn't you agree with me that the worst work meetings are those where you've been sitting in there 4 hours, discuss. You see half the people already looking at their phones, the other half are struggling to keep their eyelids open. And they say, okay, meeting finished. And they walk out of the meeting. So what are we supposed to do? Isn't that the worst kind of meeting? A waste of everyone's time? So if you're going to answer a question, make sure you answer the question clearly. And if you're trying to do a speech, add a call to action. Because when people know exactly what to do next, you give them a direction, you give them a focus, and that becomes take-home value. Right? So where you can, add a call to action. Maybe it's sign up now. Or maybe it's, so go back tonight, look at your partner. If it's awkward to say, I love you, don't need. Just say, thank you for being here. You never know how those little words will make a big difference to your partner, right? So that's a call to action, asking someone to do something after you answer. That adds a lot more power. So maybe hopefully tonight, half of you here, if not all of you, will go to your partner and say, thank you for being here. Yes, you see why you say this? Oh, I just felt like saying it. And then you see they sure smile one, right? Why not? It's just a few words, right? So have a call to action as you communicate. This is powerful. If you're in sales and you have no call to action, maybe you're wondering how come people don't buy a product. Yeah, you need a call to action. Okay? Can I move on? Okay, great. By the way, if you want to copy the slides, I put very little words so you can copy the slides. If you want to take screenshots, by all means, go and take screenshots. But if you feel like, there's so much, how to organize everything, feel free to email me and I will send you the slides. Okay? So don't worry about the slides. Email me and I'll send you the slides. All right? So now let's move on. Oh, hang on. I'm pressing the wrong thing. Okay. So mistake number 3. Question and answer, right? Type in the Zoom group chat. How many times do you think Edison tried to invent the light bulb? Oh, thank you, Jonathan, for spelling Joe Coy correctly. 40,000, 9999, 1001, 10,000. Wow, 1 million plus, 10,000. Okay, interestingly enough, if you Google, right, it says 1,000. Yeah, I asked Google, but a lot of people said 10,000. I also thought it was 10,000. What about this? What happens when you never give up? According to conventional wisdom. Yeah, you eventually succeed. Or you get better, you get there. Exactly. So we all know this, right? So the question to all of you here is, if we all know this, then what's the point of listening? So if you're going to do a speech about not giving up, don't use Edison as a story. We all know Edison's story. He tried and he tried and tried and tried and then he succeeded. Now he's world famous. Yay. But if we heard it before, chances are it's not going to leave an impact on your audience. In fact, just this morning, I was doing a daily call. I have a sort of like a mastermind group that I do a daily call with just to let out all my bad emotions and start the day powerfully, right? And one of the gratitudes that one of my members was sharing was the 1% rule. I don't know if you've heard of this before. And you can find this at jamesclear.com. Basically, the idea behind the 1% rule is that if you are 1% better every day, at the end of 1 year, you will be 37.8 times better than you are. If you're 1% worse every day, you end the year at 0.03% of where you were. So this might be something new for all of you, but it's something that I know and I've thought about it all the time. And so this morning, as we are recapping, okay, what were the things we were grateful for? For the longest time, we couldn't remember that my friend there had said the 1% rule. Because when he was sharing about how he felt about the 1% rule, this came up in my mind. I already know this lah, no point listening lah. So my brain actually subconsciously switched off. I like paying attention, but it just switched off and I just could not remember. So sometimes people don't remember your speech, not because they want to be rude, but because in their brain, this triggers that subconscious thought and they switch off. So there's a challenge in being too conventional when we answer. Whether it is a table topic question or whether it is a work-related question. When the boss says, come, let's brainstorm for ideas. oh yeah, we need to hire more people and we need to cut costs and we need to marketing program and we need to engage the social media. Like all of these conventional ideas, yeah, if it's cliche, everybody knows, no point listening, right? So the thing here is you really want to think about how what you can say is fresh. What's new about the idea that you are raising? Is there something different in the way you say what you say? In this same sense, even in Toastmasters, I was listening to some presentations by world champions of public speaking, right? And they were talking about how some speeches are just so cliche. Like one of the speeches that I used in my speech contest, I think 3 or 4 years ago. 4 years ago. It's called Jump. And the story was about jumping out of an aeroplane and how when I jumped out of the plane, I found success. And so we should jump for the things in life. We need to take massive action, right? And then when I was talking to one of the world champions in the Q&A, he said, you know, that idea of jump, that's the 4th time I've heard it this year. I'm like, okay. So obviously that's not a very good speech. It's not fresh. Imagine if I went to the World Championships and I used a speech that people have heard so many times before, maybe in some different form. Any chance I'm going to win? Nope. Any chance people take notice? Nope. They'll probably just be like, oh, heard that before. So you don't want to fall into that trap of saying things that people already say. How do you find things that's fresh? Offer a different opinion, right? Maybe between health and wealth, which is more important? Oh, let's use the chat. I want to see how many say health and how many say wealth. Between health and wealth, which is more important? I see health, both. Health and wealth, health. Any more? Okay, maybe the rest still thinking how to sound smart. Okay, no worries. So it's true that we all know that it's going to be health. But imagine this, would you go for a workshop for half an hour to find out why health is better than wealth? You're like, oh, come on. The same thing, maybe at the start of COVID, everyone's like, wow, how many cases? Wow, which shopping center? When did this happen? When that? Oh no, how many? Today, anybody know what's the COVID count? No, right? Because it's not fresh anymore. We stop looking for things like that. So give a different opinion. If anybody just said, confirm is wealth. All of you who say health, you're missing one very important thing. Do you want to know what that is? Yeah, suddenly now you pique people's curiosity because it's different, right? So give that different opinion when you can. And if you look at the table topics contest in district at least, right? You have 10 districts competing. Usually the ones that win are the ones that go against the grain. Because if this were a table topic question, 10 people or 9 people will say health. You're like, the one person says wealth, and here's why. Everyone sits up and takes notice. So you want to think about how, whether in Toastmasters or in the workplace, how offering a different opinion can really make a difference in terms of your branding. Perhaps you stand out with creative ideas. Of course, the flip side is also true. If you give a stupid answer, people say, hey, don't be stupid, can or not? And you don't want that. So what can you do to moderate that opinion? You can say, now, I don't know everything there is to know about this, but from what I can see, I think we should consider this because. So at the most, they say, no, it's not that great because of this, that reason. They say, oh, okay, yeah, because of the reasons, I agree. But it's something to think about, right? Maybe even when you evaluate proposals, proposal A or proposal B, can you offer a proposal C? What if we combine the best bits of each proposal, right? When you come up with a new option, this is when doors really start to open. The same way that instead of health or wealth, if somebody says, you know what, between health or wealth, honestly, the most important thing in life is love. And here's why. You're going to stand out for sure. And as long as you can back it up and answer the question by linking. So if you ask me, which is more important, health or wealth? Honestly, they're about the same, but none of them are as important as love. And then add your call to action. So show love, give love, spread love, because we need a lot of it, right? You will definitely stand out. Next, can you add personal experiences? I understand that if we are not Toastmasters, we are not used to talking about ourselves. Even as Toastmasters, we might not be used to talking about ourselves. But here's the thing about any communication and any presentation. If you are the one speaking, you aren't just selling a product or an idea. You have to sell yourself first. Why? Because if they don't trust you, they won't trust your product and they won't trust your idea. Ask anyone in sales. Or perhaps if I were to ask you, if somebody offers you a really good deal on insurance, but that fella looks really shady, really untidy, really, I don't know, just got the con man kind of feeling. Even if it's a good deal, would you say yes? Exactly, because you don't trust the person. So when you're speaking, by adding your personal experiences, you are selling yourself. And not only that, with personal experiences comes emotions. And this is where the selling of ideas happens. With emotions, people are more ready to buy your idea. The same way that, let me take a look at the names in this room. Let's see. Okay, it seems like about 60% male, 40% female, I think. I'm curious. How many of you watch Korean drama? Any? Okay, I have some hands up, some shaking head, some too embarrassed to raise your hands, but that's okay. My father watches Korean drama every night. And he loves the romance ones with some cute young guy with the hair, some young president who doesn't care, and some girl who works very hard. And then one day the girl will get drunk and then she'll trip on her high heels. Then the guy will piggyback her home. And then one day in the future, she'll sleep and then she'll think of that moment where he piggybacked her. Oh, right? And they'll replay that scene 5 times throughout the whole series. But people still watch Korean drama. Why? Because it's emotions. It's that personal experience. And when we see those emotions, we can relate to that. So this is where when you tell your personal story with emotions, people buy it. Also because we are all very kepo. We are all busybodies. We are all nosy. We want to hear all the dirt. We want to know the juice, right? When somebody becomes famous, we want to know all about that person. So here's the thing. Tell a personal experience instead of using a tried and tested story like Thomas Edison. Not that much value there. Go for your own story. Tell us how you overcame adversity. Tell us what you experienced as an obstacle. Tell us where you traveled, what you ate, how you felt while eating it. That experience is worth more than anybody else's story. The best part is nobody can say, hey, you are wrong. Because your feelings are your feelings. Right? If I felt upset, can you say, oh, hey, no law, wrong, you are not upset? They can't. They can't counter because it's your experience. Right? So you can't make mistakes telling your own story. Okay? Think about it that way. So that's mistake number 3. Don't be too conventional. By the way, I agree with Patrick. Yes, once you start, you can't stop, which is why I try not to start. But then I fell into the anime trap instead. Now I'm watching Naruto. It's quite interesting. All right, so moving on, right? Some things I learned about answering questions. Okay, so this section, we are going to do some activities. Okay, we're going to do some activities because me talking all the time is boring for me and boring for you. So let's go with the first thing. Confidence is key. Why do I say that? Who's the president of the United States of America right now?
Trump.
Yes, orange hair Trump. And if you look at several news reports or several YouTube videos or interviews or whatever, you find that some of the things he's saying doesn't even make sense. Neither is it grammatically correct, ideological sound, not even a fact, but somehow half the country supports him. What is the only thing he's got going for him? Presence. Confidence. We're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. It's going to be so good. So good. We're going to build a wall. Okay, anyway, enough of him, right? But the point is when he's on stage, even if he's not making sense, people hear what he's saying and the way he's saying it. I mean, seriously, here in Singapore, how many of us thought Mexico was going to pay for it? Zero, right? Exactly. But the way he said it really made half of America believe that it's going to happen. So here's the thing. Even if you might not be 100% correct, or your solution might not be the best, or your idea might not be the smartest, when you have that confidence to pull it off, people are more likely to believe you. I think this is also well demonstrated by world champion Muhammad Katani in the 2017, was it, or 2016 championships? The one right before Darren Tay, right? Where he gave some dubious facts about smoking, but people believe it because he said it with confidence. So here's the thing. How do you build that confidence? Start by believing that you add value. Perhaps this is where I want all of you to sort of do a thinking activity, right? When was the last time in a meeting when somebody asked you for your opinion and you said, oh, nothing to add. Oh, everybody say already. Or you just felt, I have an idea, but no, it's stupid. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it. Have you ever thought or felt that before? If that's the case, chances are you don't have this idea that you add value. But here's the truth. If you're hired in the first place, that means somebody is paying you for the value that you add, right? So if somebody's paying you, don't you add value? They already pay you. What makes you think you're not adding value? Would you pay someone money for no reason? No, right? So you add value just by being yourself, through the work that you do, through the expertise that you have. Or when meetings are long and somebody asks, let's say maybe, Kavinda, what do you think about this? Do you think your boss is trying to waste everybody's time? I don't care what Kavinda thinks. I just want to waste everyone's time. You think that's on his mind? No. It's probably because he believes Kavinda has something to say. Or he might have a different idea or approach. So if you're being picked to answer a question, it's because you add value. Never, never forget that. Even on your worst days where you feel like a burden, you add value because you are human. You have so much thoughts, feelings, experiences. You have so much love to give, so much wisdom to share. Right? And your presence can make a difference to so many people around you. You add value. Never, never forget that. Never forget that. All right? Next, try to have fun. If not, what's the point, right? Can I just check in with the audience here? Do I look like I'm having fun? Okay, some not sure. Wow, one higya. Okay, thanks, Samuel. Yeah, I generally do. I enjoy doing workshops like this. I enjoy having these conversations because when I believe I add value and I think, or at least I get feedback from the audience that I am, wow, it makes me feel great. This is like the best part of my day when I have a workshop. I mean, I know some people hate work. I hate planning for the workshop, but I love being in that workshop because I get to have fun doing it. I get to have fun on stage. I've messed up a few times already in this workshop, but who cares, right? So don't take yourself too seriously when you answer questions, unless it's a really, really serious question, like, should we go to war? You know, maybe you don't want to have so much fun then. But otherwise, for most intents and purposes, nothing wrong with having fun with your reply, right? Whether it's a formal presentation, even in sales, everybody might be, oh, very strict. Yeah, but can you have fun with them? Tell a joke or two. I mean, of course, stay away from, you know, sexist jokes and racist jokes and all those kind of things. But otherwise, have fun. Laugh at yourself if you need to. I remember this one time I was doing a sales training for a group of network marketers. And it so happened that 5 minutes before going on stage, I was in the washroom clearing my system, you know, to get perfectly ready. My zip went down, I did my thing, and the zip couldn't come back up. Basically, it broke, right? The zip just tore. And it was terrible. Black pants, red underwear. Worst combination ever. I'm not Superman, but that day I had to be. And so I was thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to go on stage? So I called my training buddy who was there. hey bro, I know I'm supposed to do the session, but can you take over? I need to go and get a new pair of pants. And he's like, bro, that's just a small problem. What do you mean small problem? It is a big problem, right? He said, bro, are you there for yourself or are you there for them? I said, I'm here for them. He says, yeah, then whatever it is, just go and be there for them. And so I went up on stage. I said, good morning, everybody. And I said, good morning. I said, as you can see, I have a wardrobe malfunction. There's nothing I can do about it, but I'm committed to giving you my 100%. Is that okay? They said, okay. And that was it. I had fun, they had fun, and now I have a good story to tell. Right? Can you imagine how it would have been if I wasn't having fun? If I was trying to cross my legs and keep covering my groin at every minute? Terrible training. I won't be able to focus on them. But with that confidence, I was able to win the crowd. And after that, some people came out and said, wow, Kin, that was the best training I've ever had for someone who didn't zip. Right? And that's fine. Right? I mean, I'm not suggesting that you do that. But my point is, when you have fun, things move. When you have fun, people learn better. When you have fun, you enjoy yourself. And if you're not enjoying yourself really, then for what? Right? So try to have fun. Try to have fun in table topics. Try to have fun on stage. You find that the speakers having fun on stage are the most magnetic ones, the ones you want to pay attention to. The ones who are not having fun, like, okay, so I have 2 hours with you all, and so we need to talk about this, we need to talk about that. Okay, next point, we need to talk about this. See, some of you already switch off just by hearing my voice. I see Ashmika pick up the phone already. Yeah, hi Ashmika. No worries. No, but that's the point. When you are having fun, your energy reflects to the audience and they take your energy. So if you're having fun on stage, people get to have fun. If you're feeling stressed, they feel stressed. You're feeling nervous, they feel tense. And when people feel tense, they want to disengage from the tension. So they switch off. Okay? So this is really, really important. Have fun. Last but not least, identity. For this one, I'm not going to take time in the session for the homework, but all of you should consider doing some homework here. When I say identity, I don't mean what's printed on your IC. That one is quite clear. I'm not saying where you came from, where you were born, you know, how many brothers and sisters. No. When I talk about identity, the question is, how do you see yourself? When you look at that picture there, do you see a pussycat? Or do you see a brave lion? Do you see a wise eagle? Sorry, not eagle. A wise owl, a fierce eagle, or a timid dormouse? Or do you see yourself as a cockroach, just annoying everybody, or a housefly? I know some of you see some speakers as mosquitoes, right? They are here to suck your blood. But what's important here for you as a speaker here is, how do you see yourself? Remember earlier we talked about peak performance? This is the mindset part of it. If you're thinking, oh, table topics, no lah, don't want lah. I'm not a good speaker. Then that's your identity. Ever wonder why you've been in Toastmasters for a while and you haven't grown? Because you have not changed your identity. When you change your identity, things start to shift. Because you take on a different persona. When I was a commando officer, there was no way I would be a bad speaker. Because every time running in camp, we sing commando songs. Songs like, we are the loyal ones, Singapore's best. Can I be Singapore's best if I can't look a girl in the eye? Cannot be, what? So because of that, my identity shifted. Who I became shifted. Even my career path. In about 2013, I attended a course and I created an identity for myself that I want to be someone who inspires others to inspire. At that point, I was still trading at home, trading stock market with my dad. So at that point, I'd never been employed. I'd never been on public stages. I had no idea how me, a trader at home, is going to inspire people. How? But I found my voice. I found Toastmasters. I started thinking about how can I inspire people? How can I fulfill my mission? Can I at least leave every person that I meet with a smile? I started with that. And today, I've received some testimonies from friends who have gone on to win contests, or friends who have inspired people, or people who conduct coaching sessions, right? Helping people transform others. It's been 8 years, quite long, but 8 years. And that identity has served me well. And I've become a champion on stage. So my advice to any one of you here is take a look at your identity as a speaker. Take a look at your identity as a person. What do you stand for? Are you the world's greatest conman? Are you the world's greatest value giver? Are you someone who connects first and makes magic later? Are you someone who speaks softly but powerfully? Are you someone with a voice that can move millions? What is your identity? When you figure that out, then you realize, I'm a great speaker. So what do great speakers do? They speak every time they get the chance. Oh, table topics? Okay, me. When your identity changes, your actions change. When your results change, you fulfill the identity. This is one of... Oh, I'm so sorry. I got so excited. Can you hear me now? Yes, no, yes? I got so excited, I accidentally covered my mic. I'm so sorry. Yeah, thank you for the feedback. Let me say that again. When your identity changes, your actions change. When your actions change, your results change. When your results change, you fulfill the identity that you created in the first place. Just because someone like my teacher told me I was stupid, I should sit down, shut up, and listen, doesn't mean that I should keep that identity. I did for all my years of school, but I should have let it go. Because when I did, something changed. So take a look at your identity. See whether it serves you or not. If it doesn't, create one. Because you get to choose who you want to be and how you want to live your life. Okay? So far, so good. Can we move on? Great. Okay, let me do a time check. I think I still have about an hour or so. Yes? Great. We are making good progress. So let's come down to the second point. Reframing challenges. Yeah, I'm totally having fun. Okay, so how do you reframe a challenge? I remember when I was still dating, right? This was the toughest question that I had. Does this dress make me look fat? Guys, if you have heard this question before, my condolences. Girls, if you have asked this question before, please don't. That's not communicating effectively. Because I remember when my ex-girlfriend first asked me this question, right? She said, does this dress make me look fat? I said, no. And she said, tell me the truth. I said, okay, maybe a bit. She said, how can you say that? You're supposed to make me feel good. You're supposed to support me. Blah, 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 blah. So recently I found a better answer on the internet. If a woman asks if she looks fat, it's not have to say no. You must act very surprised by the question. Jump backwards. Huh? No lah. Okay, maybe not the best way to do it as well. But perhaps what I'm trying to say here is sometimes we get questions that are hard to answer, right? And especially in the work context, sometimes questions can be designed as traps, right? Especially if, let's say, a colleague is trying to pin us to the wall or is trying to, make us say something we don't want to say. And so you need to think about a few things. First, ask yourself, what do you know about this? If you know something, say something. If you don't know something, it might not be a good idea to fake, unless you're in the US. Because as I understand, US corporate culture is about who speaks louder and who speaks more confidently. Even if half the stuff is fluff, they buy that. In Singapore, you try fluffing, nobody gives two hoots about you, right? So don't need to try and fake, but you can talk about what you know based on your experience. So for example, if you're in the, maybe you're having a department meeting, right? Maybe like as a head of department, you're head of sales, and then maybe ops is having some problem. Suddenly CEO says, so, Celine, what do you think ops should do? You're like, I'm in sales. What do I know about ops? Right? So rather than offend everyone, you can reframe that question by doing this, right? You can challenge the question. You can say, sorry, boss, I'm head of sales, but you want me to talk about ops? Would it make more sense to think about how ops and sales can work together to solve these issues rather than ask me what I think ops should do? So now you challenge the question to frame it to something you know how to talk about, right? Or you can also think about what is the context or the value behind the question, right? Like if the question is a pointless question that's meant to pin you to the wall, then you can say, you know what, there's really no point asking stupid questions like this. The real question we need to ask is, tara, tara, tara. So if this is equal level, right, you get to demolish his question and turn it around. And this is what politicians do. For example, there was, what's his name? Taman, right, was at this St. Galen's symposium for leadership or something like that. And he was asked this question by the moderator. Singapore has no safety net. What do you say to that? He says, in Singapore, we don't believe in safety nets, but we have a trampoline so that anyone who falls can bounce back right up. Oh, wow. What an answer. That's why he's everyone's favorite DPM, but too bad, you know. Okay, I'm not going to comment on politics. Sorry, let's leave that out there. But the point here is that was such a great answer because as I understand, the international people were picking on Singapore for not having, you know, socialist welfare, things like they have in France, right? Unemployment benefits. We don't really have that in Singapore. I mean, COVID excluded. But you have a trampoline, not a safety net. So what he did was he reframed it and said, it's not about safety nets. It's about trampolines. It's not about catching people. It's about helping them bounce back up. So you find even Trump does this, right? Accused of Ukraine. What about Hillary and Russia? What about Benghazi? What about? So he just Tai Chi's the whole thing, right? So to frame the conversation, you need to think about what's really valuable in this case. The same way if a meeting is getting toxic because people are looking for people to blame, right? Is this your fault? Is this your team member's fault? Then perhaps what you can say is, right now, talking about whose fault it is not going to make a difference. The question is, what can we do right now to solve the problem? You can spend 10 hours to go and find fault or spend 10 hours to rectify the issue. Which is more important? If they say find fault, they look petty. They say solve the problem. Great, let's solve the problem. What should we do next? Right? So this is how you avoid traps by reframing, talking about what is actually valuable. Making sense so far? Ken? Okay, so on that note, let's have a little bit of practice on the Zoom group chat. All right, so this, let's see. Should we do this by video or should we do this by chat? Okay, you know what? Let's try video, all right? By the way, if you are worried about, speak on video, remember, we are a friendly environment and we're all here to learn. If you try, you get experience and maybe I'll even give you feedback on how you can do better. If you never try, you keep your camera off and you keep quiet, I can't help you with your learning more than you can, okay? So would anyone like to volunteer? Okay, maybe I give the question first. I'll give you the scenario first, okay? The scenario is your colleague has just made a big mistake that has cost the company, let's say $10,000 in losses, right? One lost contract. Okay. So now your boss is trying to find fault. What would you say to your boss to help save your friend? Okay. Then the boss is saying, whose fault is it? It's Michael's fault, right? Okay. Would anybody like to try how to deflect that question by a reframe?
I will try.
Cool, Kavinda, let's go.
Yeah. Boss, it's a good thing that you brought up this question to me. Instead of looking at it's solely Michael's fault, why won't you look at it this way? It's not only Michael that was working behind that deal. There was a team that was working behind him and people that were helping him. So we can't really pinpoint the fault to one person and say that, Michael, you did it. So why won't we come up with a plan, a failure analysis plan, and see where did we get this deal wrong? I know we haven't got a deal like a wrong mistake like this for a long while in our company. So why won't we take this opportunity to document step by step on where we got it wrong and use it as a valuable, costly mistake to prevent something like this from happening in the future. Let me take the lead in that, and I will contact Michael and all the people behind it and come up with a format next week.
Well done. Okay, let's just have some audience response, right? How many of you thought that Kavinda did well, right? Let's either give him applause or say yes or yeah in the chat, right? Let's just get a sense of how you felt about that answer. Okay, we got a few yes. We got a few thumbs up. Got some claps. Great. Oh, take care, Joan. Okay, but on that note, are there things that we can do to improve Kavinda's response, to make it more powerful? Any suggestions? Yeah, I see Celine, you have your hands up.
I would bring in some emotion, some empathy. I would say, yeah, boss, this loss is really terrible. It's affecting it's going to affect our bottom line. We're going to lose so much and all that. And all our customers will be affected. Maybe this could be a good time for us to look at how we, our operations and make some revisions. Let us all work together and try and rectify this mistake and move forward. And we can always conduct a separate inquiry as to what led to this mistake and what we can do in future to prevent this. So what I'm saying is that give constructive suggestions and at the same time kind of empathize with the boss and let him know that you also feel that, you also feel the loss with him.
Thank you, Celine. Okay, that's definitely interesting. Anyone, any other thoughts? By the way, there's no right or wrong answer. There's just what we think and feel. Yes, I see Annie's hand up. Go for it, Annie.
Okay, I'm trying to put more emotional, so just let me know if okay or not. Okay, boss, yes, it's Michael's fault, also my fault, and it's also your fault. But now the time we're not talking about whose fault. Let's fix the problem first, okay?
Interesting. So like we're all in this together, right? Using more we. Do note though, I'm not sure whether it's ever a good idea to say, boss, this is also your fault. I think that depends on your level of connection with your boss. I mean, to be fair, right? Nobody likes to be told that it is their fault. But perhaps, maybe if I had some ideas, it would be something closer to saying, boss, while this was under Michael's charge, I think we all have a role to play in it. Whether we could have double checked it or whether, it could have passed through our hands, but we trusted that Michael would do it well. And this time he didn't. Maybe something to consider is how can we put more processes in place to prevent this kind of human error? Because if it were me, or maybe even if it were you, we might have made the same mistake that Michael did. So let's really look at our processes to see how we can, prevent this from happening. No point, so that this won't happen again. Fair or not, boss? Yeah, I'll give you the proposal by Monday. Like what Kavinda said. I love that because when it's going to be sorted out by Monday. So as a boss, I'll feel, okay, that's taken care of. Something is being done. So I thought those were really good points. Make sure that you try to get on his side as well and then redirect. It's not about Michael. It's about our processes.
Hinfong, Max has some questions.
Oh, yes.
Max,
go for it.
Go ahead.
Unmute, boss. Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I just think maybe also we can speak about this is a lesson learned, and then what is valuable is that in future it will prevent us from more loss in future, because this might be a mistake that we make today, but it will also after we all learn from this, and we will have prevent the future incident of committing the mistake, something like that. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, Max. Yes, that's definitely important, right? Because you want to angle towards a hopeful future. So in effective communication, a lot of the time as humans, we are looking to pin the blame on someone or something. And not all bosses are so nice to say, okay, my team, I take responsibility. We know that not all bosses are like that. If you have a boss that will say that, good boss, right? But otherwise, think about perhaps how you can really align or shift. Sometimes if the boss is angry at Michael, you might say, true boss, it is Michael's responsibility this time. But he's also brought in 10 million in sales, right? Compared to this $100,000 loss, you know, I think that 10 million says something. It's a mistake that could happen to anyone. So let's not sacrifice the 10 million he brought in just because of this 100,000, right? So now you've reframed the angle to, is Michael good or Michael not good? Michael is good. It's just that he made one mistake, right? So this is the idea behind reframing, to really angle the conversation towards what you want to talk about. Another thing that salespeople do to angle this conversation is they use this technique called the double bind. I'm going to type it here. Double, oh, you can't spell double. Bind, okay, the double bind. So what is a double bind? Basically, when you get a question, you answer back to ask, did you mean A or did you mean B? So for example, the question is, can you tell me why this project is a failure? Sorry, boss, I don't understand. Do you mean to tell you why we did not follow up with the project, or to tell you why the project is being delayed? Which is it? You know, so the idea is when you ask the clarifying question, right? And that's what I mean by to challenge the question. Then sometimes those who are not thinking clearly, you force them into one corner that you know how to answer, right? Or maybe if the question is something like, do you think Singapore should adopt nuclear energy? And honestly, how many of us know anything about nuclear energy except for atomic bombs and Fukushima and Chernobyl? Not much besides that, right? Do we actually know whether it is safe now? Don't know. So do you feel qualified to talk about it? Don't know. So challenge the question and say, hang on, do you want me to talk about whether Singapore should go nuclear or whether Singapore should go for alternative energy sources? Which one is it? He says nuclear. Okay. So if it is nuclear, the only reason why we should do it, and what I know is it is an alternative energy source. The only reason why we need it is as an alternative energy source. But if there are other alternative sources that are cleaner and cheaper, then why risk going nuclear? Not worth the risk, man. Yeah. So basically you frame it to what you know how to talk about, and then you twist it around. So if you get a question you don't know how to explain, or you don't really know how to answer, feel free to first think about what you know and then reframe it towards that. And if you cannot do any further, right, you can add a disclaimer. So what's a disclaimer? You know how some products will say, oh, this product or results varies, right? Those fat loss one, or results varies. Pictures shown are used and may vary from person to person. You may or may not gain weight loss from this program, blah, blah, blah. So the idea behind the disclaimer is to say, from my perspective, I don't know about these things, but what I can see is this. So if whatever the result of what you said, you say, no, your answer doesn't make sense to me. It's, yeah, because I don't know all these other things that you know. So boss, if you're asking me to make this decision, this is the information that I have. And based on this information only, I see that we should do course of action A. If there's different information, maybe I will choose other things. But based on what I can see and what I understand, I think this is the right way to do it. And then you let them decide. Maybe your answer is incomplete, but still, you sound like you've thought it through and you've already said, based on this point of view. So people can't fault you for that also because you've added your disclaimer. Okay, so that's another powerful working tool. All right. By the way, this idea of reframing is going to take a long time to master. It really is. So if you want to get better at this, you have to practice. No shortcuts here. All right. Or watch more interviews of people getting asked tricky questions. That could also help. All right. So I'll move on. Whew. By the way, can I just check in? Do we need a break? Do we need a 10-minute break or a 5-minute break? Okay, I see some notes. So how about this? The time on my, oh, where's my phone? Okay, the time on my,
9:07.
sorry, 9:07, right?
Yeah.
So can we come back at 9:15? Does that work? Yes? Okay, so I'll see you all at 9:15 for the last bit of this program.
Can we stop share screen for a while?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Thanks. Okay.
Yep.
Feel free to chat if you want to. Ashmika, you are very visible. I didn't spot you until Kin Fong mentioned he saw you picking up a phone.
Okay, I'm going to get some water. Be right back.
He's got very sharp eyes.
I suspect it's probably like a bigger screen.
Yeah, I think we might need bigger screens. My eyesight's getting worse. Mine is a 14-inch computer, notebook,
Okay.
14-inch. I
Mine's
think.
smaller, so I've gotten very tired of the screen.
I know. Oh, Samuel is our musician, our in-house musician. He usually has some music breaks for us.
It's usually just the old folks music with the symphonies and everything, but people don't seem to complain, so why not keep it
Yeah,
going?
he was sharing with us about the history, why Beethoven skipped some symphonies.
Tchaikovsky.
Tchaikovsky, yeah, the
Beethoven died on the Ninth Symphony.
Russian, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky, yeah.
Can we all, for those who don't know Samuel, can we guess how old he is? Don't say anything, those who do.
This is embarrassing.
Samuel, don't worry, I had that in the past. Thank you for taking over the baiting.
Yeah, Ashmika was the baby of the club for a while. Then Priya came along, and now it's Samuel.
Finally.
Oh, dang. Who is the next? We need to find anyone to replace. I mean...
You need to find another 18-year-old to come in and be the youngest
Now you just
member.
gave my age away, didn't you?
Oh, this is the young man I met, right, at a contest?
Samuel?
Yeah.
Hi, Patrick.
Yes.
The one who...
Patrick. It was an amazing contest, especially the quarantine order after that. I was...
Oh, Patrick, Samuel has a full-fledged podcast system in his home.
Oh.
So he can do podcasting as well. And he's also doing it for his school.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in Singapore, but he's doing his school that he graduated from last year. He's still doing podcasts for them.
Oh, that's great. Which school is that?
It's an international school in Shanghai, called Shanghai Community International School. It's quite funny because, yeah, it sounds terrible, the name, community school. Yeah, but it's not that bad. It's IB school.
Good. Don't worry. It's only a name.
It's only a name, but names hold so much power.
Is there any Shanghai communist school?
Communist?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe China is that communist after all.
Not since Deng came to power.
Yes,
Yeah.
Deng Xiaoping, Lord and Savior. This is actually quite funny. I had an opportunity to go to rural China, the Tibetan part of China, and our goal is to teach them English. So they're Zhangzu, so they're of the Tibetan race. So they have this gorgeous, beautiful, traditional Tibetan shirt and dress and whatever. So we went there. We prepared our how to teach ABCDE lesson, and expecting out of the world experience with elevation of 4,000 kilometers, 4,000 meters high. And then we went there and they greeted us with perfect English. And I kid you not, perfect English. They turn on their projectors and their teachers start communicating in perfect English. And we were all dumbfounded. We thought it was the poorest part of China, or like it was incredible. It was incredible, and we became kind of famous for a little bit because where my school is, a lot of people are white, so everyone was treated like a celebrity, asking for handphone numbers and everything. So yeah, communist school, I don't think they ever existed after Deng Xiaoping came to power.
Were the Tibetan students learning from the Voice of America or the BBC?
No, there's actually, this is another bit of interesting history. So there is a foreign guy, I think he's British or something. He decided to start a program in Tibet and northern Sichuan and around that region, Guizhou, Yunnan. His goal is to teach English to the kids throughout places places in China that doesn't have very good education. So he invented this called English Teachers Program. And every single teacher that you will meet in that region who speaks English came from that program, started from that one single British person. And actually one of my economic teacher who came from a small village near Tibet, he had, he didn't knew, the only thing he knew was his hometown language. He actually came from the same village as Dalai Lama. And he went to King's College and then in the end Oxford University for his economics degree because of this English teachers program. So, but in the end, for some reason, the Chinese government banned this program, and the teacher is not allowed to operate in China anymore. But the resemblance of the English teachers program, the impact of it is significant. It's absolutely significant. It's crazy how philanthropists can change the world so much, you know. Sorry, I'm rambling.
Belinda, were you also from the same Shanghai school as Samuel?
No, he happened to mention Kings, and I'm passionately, attached to Kings.
Oh.
Yes.
Samuel will be starting to apply for university in the next 6 months.
Yep.
In the UK?
Yes, in the UK. I applied last year and I pulled out because I wanted to have, I wasn't very satisfied as my option. So I want to try again. But, COVID came along, making all the UK universities online classes.
What are you applying for?
Medicine and biomedical science. Well, some around there.
I see. So which university have you shortlisted? Because if you're applying the UK, I think 4 universities will be for medicine, and then the other 2 you can apply as biomedical.
For me, I'm applying 1 for medicine and the rest for biomedical. Because medicine, I'm not incredibly certain that I will spend my entire life dedicated in one single thing. So I'm leaving that for myself to decide a little bit later if it doesn't work out. So as going to medicine as a graduate degree, like America. But I don't know. Honestly, nowadays, it's just so incredibly complicated with the political, social, and health climate. All my friends who are in med school are, they're not doing anatomy experiments to say that they're not seeing real bodies. They're seeing 2D pictures of Zoom calls. Amazing.
Okay. We're gonna start in about 10 seconds. Can everyone mute themselves, and Kim Fong will start showing the slides. 10 seconds, okay?
I forgot I was muted. Okay, yes, it happens to all of us. Okay, so welcome back. So once again, back to another activity, because this is the part where the more you do, the better you get, all right? So the third thing about answering questions is to link ideas. Why is linking ideas important? Because we now live in an age where information comes just like that, right? At the edge of your fingertips. You don't know something, go and Google it. I remember there was an interview that my friend went for, and it was one of those round table during lunch kind of interviews. And the person asked a question, anyone knows what the US exchange rate is right now? And so some people say, oh, it's a 1.45, right? Some say, no, 1.36, what? Hey, I thought it was a 1.37. Then somebody pick up a phone and said, I don't know, but right now, according to xe.com, it says it's 1 point something, something, something. So here's the thing, right? Our realities have changed in that you don't have to know everything, but you have to know how to get things. So if knowing things now is not enough, then how do you add value at work? It comes when you can start to link ideas together, when you can start to put solution A and solution B together to create solution C. The same way that taxis have been around for centuries. GPS has been around for 30 to 50 years. But when you put GPS and taxi together, boom, Uber changed the world, right? Same way for food and delivery, right? Motorcycles and food, put them together, woo, pizza delivery, changed the world. And so look at how everything now is being delivered, right? Stores no longer, in fact, so many malls in Singapore are closing down their shops because for retail, anyone can get it online for less price. And you don't even need a physical shop presence. I heard the rental at, let's say, Far East Plaza for a small shop is about 15 to 20K a month. Online, free. You just need your warehouse. So when you can start to link ideas, it allows you to look at trends and it allows you to create something new. So this is part of, perhaps in Bloom's taxonomy of thinking, right, for learning. They talk about the level 6 thinking skill, which is the highest thinking skill. And that's creation or synthesis, right? Being able to come up with something new or put things together. So let's have a few exercises of putting things together, and I'll demonstrate later why this is so important in answering questions. So let's look at this, right? By the way, at this point, feel free to unmute if you don't have a noisy background. Feel free to just contribute or use the chat if you still don't quite feel like speaking, okay? How would you link confidence and chocolate? How would you link confidence and chocolate? Anyone?
I just can
You're
see
fit enough, so you have the confidence to eat chocolate. Thank you, Annie. I wish I could say that about myself. Anyone else?
The sweetness in chocolates that give you the adrenaline rush.
Sweetness in chocolate. So you eat your chocolate bar and you're ready for the stage, right? You get confidence. What else? How
If
else
your
can we link?
dentist approve that your teeth are healthy, you can have the confidence to have chocolate cake.
Dentist must approve first to give you confidence to eat chocolate cake. Well spoken from a very respectable dentist, Belinda, right? Anyone else?
Chocolate is happy food. So once you're happy, you'll get the confidence to do what you want to do.
Absolutely, Stacy. Yes, chocolate is confidence because it's happy food. From Joel, good. Both makes us feel good. Anyone, anything else?
I should say chocolate is energy, right? Full of energy. So after you take a lot of energy, then you will feel confident. And from the value, from the vocabulary, from the word, you can see, and see. 3 C's. So looks good. So that's why you feel good and feel confident.
Chocolate. In fact, 3 C's. Chocolate creates confidence. Oh, okay. What else? From Shanshan, hungry for success and chocolate cake. Indeed, gives you the confidence to move forward. Okay, let's move on. What about this one? Success and a blanket. How would you link success to a blanket?
They both give you security.
Thank you, Celine. You both get security. I think Samuel, you raise your hand as well, right?
Yeah, I think opposite, actually. I think the security of the blanket will take you away from success. And sometimes it's better to take off your blanket to venture into the unknown to be able to gain success.
Yes. Okay, you got to take off that security blanket. Nice. What else? From Shanshan, a blanket to sleep on the wave of success. Interesting. What else? You think we could find 3 more ways to link blanket and success? Oh, if you're successful enough, you can blanket others. Wow, very nice, Annie. Okay. What else?
Adding on to what Samuel said, to seek success, you had to earn the blanket.
So when you have success, you have earned a blanket. Was that it?
Yeah, to seek success, you have to burn the blanket.
Burn the
Oh,
blanket.
you have to burn the
Yeah.
blanket. Okay. Got that. Nice, Kavinda. Or maybe in the Asian context, right? If you receive, or perhaps, no, I'd rather not talk about that. But okay, sorry, scratch that. Not so appropriate. But in Asian cultures, people give blankets for unhappy occasions, right? So when someone receives a blanket, you know that person was successful. That's one way to look at it too, right? Any others? Perhaps one more?
They're both manualable, as in you can change the shape and the direction of both of them.
Thank you, Samuel. Yes, you can change the shape and the direction and all of it, how it feels. It's different for everyone, what their idea of the best blanket is, right? Okay, let's move on. One more. Love and a stuffed toy. How do you link love and a stuffed toy?
So you give the stuffed toy to a child, and the child feel loved.
Giving a stuffed toy to the child will make the child feel loved. What else?
Usually, I receive soft toys during Valentine's. So it's like, oh, full of love.
So Julie, is your house full of stuffed toys? Anyone else?
A standing or a symbol for a vacant love.
It stands for a symbol of vacant love.
No, like a standing. As in, there's a vacancy in love, like a love vacuum or something, and you use something physical to fill the vacuum. I don't know, that might be too dark, sorry.
No, I mean, by all means, right? There's no right or wrong answer. There's only how you establish the link, right? Anyone, anything else?
Must the link be positive?
Oh, sorry, Stacy, go first.
Yeah, must the link be positive? Because to me, stuffed toy does not mean love, because I'm very scared of furry stuff. So, so no.
So if you love Stacy, don't give her stuffed toys, right? Okay, I heard someone else speaking on the mic earlier. Elmo.
It's
okay.
me, Elmo.
Okay, hi Elmo. Yeah. So how would you link love and stuffed toy?
Elmo would like to say that Elmo loves Toastmasters.
Okay.
So the link is I love all of you. Yeah, all of you.
Okay, thank you, Elmo. I love you too. I'll tickle you later. Okay, so here's the thing, right? If you can use the object as a metaphor, then it becomes even more powerful. For example, if you could say something like, if you love someone, be a stuffed toy. Sometimes all you need to do to show that love is to sit there, listen, and be hugged.
That's profound.
Yeah. So within each of these examples, right, you can find more profound links depending on how you establish the relationship between the objects and the emotions. So this could even be a powerful way to start a speech or start a presentation, right? By using metaphors. The power of metaphors here is that people make the links themselves, and you sound smart doing it. All right, so this practice for metaphors may take, once again, a long time to master, but believe me, it is worth it. Look at Darren Tay. He used the underwear outside as a metaphor for how long have you been bullying yourself into telling yourself you're not good enough, right? So Darren linked underwear and not good enough. So think about how you can bring your experience to your topic. That would definitely make your answers fresh. Okay, so let's move on because we don't have too much time. Okay, let me do a time check. Oh dear. Okay, I have about what, 10 minutes left, I think. Can I check with Jonathan? Are you there? Or Mr. President, we have about 10 minutes left, I think.
Yes, about that.
Okay, can I have 15 minutes? So it means stretch by another 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. So quite quickly, you want to begin with the end in mind. Why? Because this is Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. When you know where you're going, it's easier to get there. So when you hear a question, it's a lot easier to sometimes choose the idea of where you're going to go. I know for a lot of us, we just follow our thoughts like, I got this topic, and then I'll jump, and I'll jump, and I'll jump, and I'll see where it ends. But sometimes you jump too far away from the topic and you don't answer it. So it would be better for you to take your time to really think, that's a good question. If this is a work context, you can repeat the question, or you can ask the person to repeat the question. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you clearly. Can you repeat your question again? Yeah. Then they repeat it again, buys you time to think, right? So once you got that end in mind, frame your answer. We did some reframing earlier, thinking about what you want to talk about and what you don't want to talk about. And then, of course, use a structure. Why structure? Because structures make it easy for people to follow. Even in school, we've been taught essay structures, haven't we? Intro, 3 main points, counter argument, conclusion. That's a structure. But within each of the structures, there's a way to organize your thoughts into mini structures as well, so that what you say makes sense, so that what you say is easy to understand. So let's look at some of these structures. And what we'll do is I'll introduce one structure, I'll give a table topic, someone responds, and then we'll move on this way, okay? So that everyone can try some of the different structures. Okay, we don't have time for everyone to try it, but at least you get to see a demonstration of how it's done. So first structure, PREP, also known as point, reason, elaboration, point. For example, if the question is something like, what is your favorite food? Maybe I would answer it this way, point. My favorite food is KFC. Reason, when I eat KFC, I feel alive. E, example or elaboration. I remember this one time I went to Poland. It was cold and I had just finished a duck dinner, sharing a whole duck with my mother. We were super full. Then we met the tour guide and he said, you haven't tried the KFC? Did you know Poland's KFC is the best in the whole world? I didn't believe it. Why Poland? Would it be US? But he's a tour guide. He should know. So I went to the only KFC in town. Went there, opened the door. Everything looks the same. I ordered one crispy chicken thigh. It came to me in a half-open cardboard box. But the skin was not the dark gold that you see in Singapore. It was a bright, crispy gold. It looked like cornflakes on skin. And as it was moved in front of me, I could smell the chicken. And suddenly there was more space in my stomach. I grabbed the skin of the thigh. I peeled it open and I could see fresh steam rising from the meat. It grabbed my nose. It grabbed my senses. I had to pick up the chicken. I took a bite. Fireworks in my mouth. It exploded. The juice, not oil, my friends. Juice exploded all over my mouth. And all I could taste in that moment was chicken. Me and that chicken, we were one. This was an unholy union of satisfaction. And as I finished every bit of that chicken on bone, I realized he was right. That is the best KFC in the world. So my friends, if listening to that made you hungry, now you know why my favorite food is KFC, right? So what did I do? I gave a point. I gave a reason for it. In the example, I elaborated in this case with a story that was somewhat descriptive. No offense to vegetarians. I mean, I respect your choice. I love vegetables too. It's just KFC it's just one of those things for me, right? And then you end with a point to summarize so people know how you answered the question. Okay, quite simple. Can we have a volunteer to try? I'll give you a topic and you answer with PREP. Anyone?
Philip, would you like to try?
Asking me.
I don't mind going.
Okay, since Samuel has volunteered himself, would you like a hard question or an easy question?
Hard.
Hard.
Hard question. Okay. Okay, I'll give you somewhere between medium hard, all right? So recently, Andrew Yang became famous for his idea of universal basic income, giving every American citizen $1,000. Do you think Singapore should do the same?
Well, that is a hard one. So PRP's point, reason, example, and point again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I personally do not believe universal income would work very well in the case of Singapore. My reason and explanation is this: Singapore, with Singapore's culture, is a very hardworking and also driven society where everyone, if you want to be successful, you have to put in the work. And the idea of universal income, yes, though very good, but it's only suitable for certain countries, certain situations with extreme poverty rampant, especially in the States when the disparity of income is incredible. In Singapore, where government schemes that, for example, for CPF, schemes like these aid Singaporeans to prepare themselves for the future, where a basic income will only discourage, and with an example, there was a case in UK and also in China where a man, in both cases, they were giving money to a beggar, who lives on a bridge every single day. And when one day when the beggar was asking for the daily donation, the man said, "Sorry, I didn't go to the bank today. I don't have any money for you." The beggar turned on him and said, "How dare you do this to me? You are the most evil person ever. How dare you not give me the things that I'm not even supposed to have? But I'm sure going to have an opinion about that," which ties into the economic theory of disintensification. Excuse me, it's been a little bit late. It will convince people to not work as hard as they can work, and gives out this laziness atmosphere. Therefore, I think universal income, basic income for Singapore might not be the best choice.
Okay, wow.
Disincentive, yes, sorry, that was a bit late.
Okay, so Samuel answered it really well. Was his point and reason clear? And he gave the example of the man under the bridge, right? So all of us could follow that very clearly. So great demonstration for PREP. Well done, Samuel. Okay, let's move to the next one. Scales or balancing, right? So the idea behind this structure is it's great for evaluating options. Perhaps option A or option B. Or you can weigh it between pros and cons of a certain option. So for example, to answer the question like, oh, if you were drowning with your wife and your mother-in-law, who would you save? You know, that kind of question. So on one hand, if I save my wife, on the other hand, if I save my mother-in-law, okay, yeah, I'll probably save my wife. I mean, okay, but yeah, so the idea is you want to weigh both sides first, and then you come to a decision at the end, right? So quite a simple or straightforward thing. Or you might say, maybe should Singapore do universal basic income? You could have also used the scales. They say on one hand, the poor and underprivileged would have a better time, easier time surviving. On the other hand, why should we need to do that? We will end up encouraging laziness, right? So that's the balance. So would anyone like to try using the balance structure?
Philip, you're a visitor. Won't you try? Philip, unmute yourself.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So do you want an easy question or a hard question?
An easy one.
Any day.
No, an easy one.
Okay. Which color do you prefer? Blue or black?
My favorite color is black. I always feel that black is elegant, and now that the trend is Black Lives Matter, so so if you see in the news today, they all are glorifying black, and then so now it's trendy to be black, and I feel that that should be the way, and so my feeling and my preference has always been for the color black.
And then to balance out the other side, what about blue?
Blue is might be a favorite of a lot of people, but it also is an elegant color also. Blue is also quite elegant, and if you so if you have a preference for something lighter, probably you can go for blue. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Philip. Okay, so note that if he talked only about black, the analysis there might not have been as balanced or as detailed. So even in the work context, if people ask you, so proposal A or B, if you only talk about one side, it doesn't feel like you've given enough weight of consideration on the other. So that's where the scales come in, where you can balance. On one hand, black is elegant, black is trendy. I've always liked black, it makes me look slim, so on and so forth. On the other hand, some people go for blue because it's also elegant, it's nice, it's calming, so on and so forth. But you can come back to weighing it both. Okay? But for me, even though blue may be great, I still prefer black for all those reasons that I've said, right? So you can still come back to your answer, but at least try to weigh both sides so that we get a more complete picture of what's being asked here, right? Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Philip. Next one, light bulb. We see a light bulb in cartoons when we have ideas.
An epiphany.
Yeah, epiphanies. When do we need ideas? When we need to solve problems. So the idea here is to structure the question in a way that defines a problem and a solution. Right? It defines a problem and a solution. All salespeople will know this, that if you cannot make the client feel what the problem is, they don't need your solution. Right? Nobody will buy a solution to a problem that doesn't exist for them. So you want to make the problem happen. So the idea here, once again, frame the problem, then do the solution. Okay? Quite simple. So who would like, do I need to demonstrate? Okay, so for example, maybe the question is, why should we recycle? Then you might start with, the problem is global warming. Earth is getting hotter and hotter. We are running out of resources. The seas are being damaged. The oceans are filled with plastic. Animals are becoming toxic. Even the fish we eat has trace amounts of plastic. Isn't that a problem? That's why we need to recycle, to remove the plastic from all these dumps, to remove the plastic from the oceans. We reuse what we use so that we can have healthier fish, so that we won't be eating up to 1 credit card's worth of plastic every week. That's why we need to recycle, right? So you talk about the problem, then you offer a solution. Okay? Would anyone like to try problem and solution? Don't worry, I'll give an easy question. Okay, I see Annie's hand. Go for it, Annie.
Easy, please.
Okay. Easy, right? Okay. What do you think the world needs more of right now? What do you think the world needs more of right now?
Sorry, I didn't get that. The world needs more of.
Yes, the world needs more of something right now. What is this something for you? So for example, do we need more love? Do we need more kindness? Do we need more air condition? Do we need more? Yeah. What does the world need more of right now?
Okay. I think nowadays the world needs more understanding. Okay, so based on this year, we can see the situation between China, US, and everywhere, especially for this COVID-19. After a while, the government starting to blame each other. Even the WHO, yeah, WHO, yeah. So I think a problem can be solved. Everyone can understand each other more. So this is what I'm thinking. Solution is like in Toastmaster, we can talk less, listen more. So just be patient, listen carefully what each other requirement. Then I think it will reduce the problem. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, I recognize that this structure is a little challenging for those who are not used to thinking in this way, right? But remember that when you provide a solution, you also want to highlight the benefits. You want to create this 将来的美好, this beautiful future when we adopt your solution. So remember to tell us how you see the future could be if we all try to understand each other. Instead of just to solve a problem, maybe talk about an international brotherhood of men or of people being human, growing up together, making the world more beautiful, have flowers everywhere, you know, or whatever it is you like to paint in that future. Okay, but good job. Okay, let's move on. Next one, time. This is an easy structure. Basically, you use periods of time to frame your answer. So for example, when I was young, I used to think this, and then when I grew up, I think this, and now I think this, or maybe in the future, I will think this, right? So just use time as a structure for you to think. Okay, anyone like to try? Or do I need to do a demonstration for this? No need, right? Okay, I see Aaron shaking his head emphatically. So Aaron, how about it? Would you honor us by answering a table topic question?
Sure.
Okay, so I'll give you an interview question. I mean, just because, right? So other people can learn how to answer this question with pizzazz and panache. Oh, yes, absolutely. So the question is, what are your greatest strengths? What are your greatest strengths?
I personally believe that my greatest strength is admiring figures and icons which I look up to. But more than that is actually to be able to emulate some of the characteristics of these icons and of these leaders. So before, when I was in my teenage years, I was there to notice when Barack Obama was made president-elect back in 2008. So that really blew me away, and I was still in school. But I figured if someone with the background that he had, given the prejudice that he went through back then, all those years, could rise up to take the highest office in the United States, then the sky can truly be the limit for a person like me. And not only do I admire him, for example, this is one of those that I admire. So he brings joy, he brings a lot of laughter to people, and as much as it is a kid's cartoon, but there's something about Sesame Street that just resonates with people young or old. So I hope that as I get older, I'm able to resonate with people younger or even people much, much older than me. So thank you for listening. Elmo, do you have anything you want to say? No, he's good. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you, Aaron. So you definitely brought some incidents from your past, and I thought it would be even more powerful if you could tell us today who you emulate or who you want to copy. I'm not sure if Elmo was like sort of the final iteration of it, but by using time as a trend, by the way, this is something that managers look at a lot because the world is rapidly changing, and sometimes we want to look at what's going to happen in the future as well. So when you talk about, or when you answer questions like maybe pertaining to this company, what do you think the company's next step should be? You might want to start from 30 years ago, we provided this. 10 years ago, we became famous because of this. Today, we are losing market share because we have stopped doing this. So in the future, we need to come back to who we are as a company, to to create products that change the future, so on and so forth, whatever it is, right? So use time to show the effect of a trend. That shows deeper thinking as well. So this is a very good work tool for a structure. Let's move on to the next one. Zoom. The idea behind zooming, as I understand this might be a little abstract, but the idea here is when you look through the magnifying glass, you are looking at the smallest things, right? When you take it off, you see the bigger picture. So the idea behind the zoom structure is to perhaps look at things from a very large scale and then slowly shrink down to the personal level, right? For example, to answer the question, how has COVID-19 changed our lives? I might start with, on a global scale, right? Companies and economies have shut down. Governments are forced to take drastic, rapid actions like lockdown and bailout funds. And when we go closer down to company level, so many small business owners have had to shutter their businesses because they cannot compete in lockdown. They have no way to switch into an internet-based business. They have no way to sustain their business while paying for employee incomes. So many famous restaurants in the US and in Singapore are shuttering. And when you go down to the personal level, how has this affected me and my family? Because we don't have to travel, we see each other every day. For better or for worse, we have learned how to communicate with each other. We've learned to talk a lot more about our feelings. We've learned to appreciate each other's presence in the house. And for me, I've learned to take more responsibility for household chores, including shopping for groceries. So COVID-19, whether it is the world at large, all the way down to each of our individual lives, has been affected. But whether in a bad way or a good way, the choice remains yours. Are you ready to embrace this new normal? Yeah, right. So that would be my answer here. So notice how by going through a different scale, you look at how something can affect different levels, and it gives a more complete answer rather than just, oh, in my experience, I can see this, that's all. Right? You don't want to be short-sighted, especially if this is in a work context. Okay. So does anyone want to try this? How about Belinda, because she has amazing teeth? Would you like to give it a go?
Okay.
Okay. So Belinda, your question, I think I'll tailor it more to your profession, right? How does dentistry change lives?
Okay, I need to think about the big picture and then I have to narrow it down smaller, right?
You can also start with a small picture and then you can go to the big picture. That's up to you. You can zoom in or you can zoom out.
Okay. How does dentistry change lives? Okay. So most of the time we think about teeth as being one single unit of individual bits in your mouth. And we only think about teeth as contributing to you eating and talking. However, are we aware that your teeth actually contributes to your smile and and helps build your confidence? And when you have confidence, you are able to approach people, to break the ice, talk to them, make them feel more welcome, as well as build better connections with more people. And this improves your personal life well-being as you grow as a whole. Yeah? Am I supposed to talk for 1 minute? I'm kind of stuck here.
Okay, no worries. I mean, it's a really, really good effort, right? I mean, what you did here was you zoomed into each tooth and you talked about all your teeth as a smile. And I thought you would create even more impact by talking about how a world that smiles is a better place than a world that doesn't. So then you brought it from the personal level into a universal kind of a scale, right? So that would be even more powerful as an, what do you call that? As a conclusion. Okay, I recognize I'm more or less out of time here, so I'm going to run through the last one very quickly, or the last two. This one is a triangle. Basically, triangle has 3 points. So give 3 different points of view. right? 3 different points of view. So maybe if the question was something like, should every company have a Toastmasters club? What are the different points of view that we can see? Like, who are the different stakeholders? Let's use the chat, right, to make it quick. What are the possible different points of view we might have? Like, whose perspective? For example, there's the boss's perspective. What other perspectives? Yep, HR's perspective, staff's perspective. Who else? Union's perspective, management perspective. Yes. Maybe even client's perspective. Maybe even national perspective. Is the government interested in having all our Singaporeans speak better? Right? So there are many different perspectives that we could put in there. Okay? So that's the idea behind different perspectives. So what you can do is offer 2 different perspectives, and for the third one, offer your own. Right? This allows you to see multiple points, and it gives you more in-depth analysis as well. So because of time constraints, I'm going to move past that. We're going to do the last one, which is the story. Unfortunately, I don't think we have time for a practice session here, but the idea behind every story is that you must have these elements, or else your story is not complete. So what are these elements? First one, situation. Who's there? What's the problem? Or what's happening? Right? You want to set up the situation so that people want to listen to the story. If you can include a problem that many people face, or a problem that's relevant to what people are experiencing, people will listen because they can relate to the problem in the way that they relate to your situation. Next, talk about the thoughts and feelings. Why? Because it's all about feelings. We connect through our feelings. We've talked about Korean drama, right? And Singaporeans don't do this very well because in essays, we are always logic, 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 logic. But sometimes logic is not enough to make us do the things we need to do. So you want to move people emotionally by adding, how did you feel? What were you thinking at that moment? And we can relate with your thoughts. Next, what are some observations and actions? What happened next? What did you see? What did you do? What changed? Right? So the idea here is there's a situation, you felt some way about it, and then something new comes in. It's like a turning point, a new stimulus, or either a solution or some wise words from somebody, or maybe somebody just came to hold your hand. And what happened next? Or maybe it was a decision that you made. And of course, when you talk about a decision, you have to end at a result. Don't end your story without a result. It leaves that open circuit. We talked about that earlier. So tell us what happened at the end. And of course, most importantly, what did you learn? That's why it's STORY. When you add what you learn, that becomes the relevance to everybody, and they can take that value with them. All right. So make sure every story has this, and you can just do 1 or 2 sentences each to tell a complete story that adds value to people. Okay. So that's really all the time we have for today. I know a lot of people have to leave as well. Thank you so much for staying. If you do want the slides, okay, I'm just going to have to skip through all of this at the end. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. Do drop me an email at kinang@g.harvard.edu. I will be able to send you the slides. If you have any questions about how to practice this, ask me as well. Basically, let's just connect and let me see how I can help you move forward in your journey to be a better communicator, a more effective communicator, and maybe an inspiring communicator. All right. Thank you all so much. You've been an amazing audience. Enjoy the week.
Wow, that's really an inspiring speech. Let's give DTM a round of applause. So what are major takeaways? We have 3 mistakes, 3 things to learn, 3 steps of quick think, and what do you call 3 things to answer questions. All 3. That's great. So now, shall we have a group photo for us?
I'll do it.
Okay.
Okay, is everyone showing?
We turn on the camera for those who have not yet turned on, so that we can take a photo.
Okay, 5 seconds. Please switch on your cameras. 5, 4. Everyone in here. 3. Anil. 2, 1. Smile. Cheese. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, shall I invite our club president, Jerome, to have the closing address?
Thanks, Johnny. Okay, first of all, thanks Kim Fong for your inspiring message. As you have mentioned, right, it's if you are 1%, as long as you are 1% better every day, at the end of a year, you'll be more than 30% better than you were at the start of the year. So let us not just be hearers, but also doers as well. Let's try out one new thing every single week. And perhaps at the end of 52 weeks, you have learned 52 new things. You'll be on your way to becoming a champion like Kim Fong himself. As what Kim Fong has mentioned earlier on in his talk, there's no harm in trying. So try off. With that, I'd like to wish all of you stay safe and thank you for attending today's meeting. And thanks again, Kim Fong, for this inspiring.
Appreciation.
No. That one separately, John.
Okay.
Okay. So for those who have just joined us today, perhaps you could sign the guest book, which is visible in the chat room itself, chat function. Thanks everyone. Good night.
Thank you, Club President Jerome, and thank you, everybody. I had fun. I hope you had fun too. I would love to do more Q&A. I'm so sorry I went way over, but yeah, I hope there was more than enough value communicated. On that note, I do want to do a Q&A, but I actually have a coaching call that's coming right up about now. So on that note, if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. I will do my best to answer your questions. And yeah, let's just connect and make the world better. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Thanks, Jonathan, for the invite, and Stacy as well, who had to message me a lot of times. Yeah, sorry, I'm not very on the ball for that. But thank you. Yeah. Take care, everybody. See you all soon.
Good night. Thanks, Ken.
Hi. This room will be kept open if you want to chat. I'm still here. So, Joan, how did you find this meeting today?
Perfect.
Great to see you again. I met her at was it a Philippines Taiwan Toastmasters? Is it, or Philippines Toastmasters Club?
No, that is Singapore.
Oh, okay. I met her.
It's a very long Toastmasters. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll meet first and third Tuesday of each month. So you're very welcome. I'm sorry to hear that Beijing is on a lockdown again. I mean, in a lockdown. On the 19th of June, this coming Friday, we can actually meet people and sit down for a meal. Well, maximum 5. But I'm so looking forward to being able to meet up with friends and have a little meal at least. Yeah. So that's good to see everyone. Kavinder, so which club are you with? Oh, he's left us. So Belinda, how many you have more than 2 meetings a month?
We have a minimum of 2 meetings, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we currently, because it's online, so it's easier for us as well. We don't have to travel from wherever we are working. Yeah.
If Joan, if you want to visit Linky, Belinda, can you leave your contact details for Joan if she wants to visit you?
John. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
can. I'll just put my contact number up here.
You just put your club details or whatever lah in the chat group. Samuel, Joan is actually traveling all the way from China to visit us here.
Oh, dang. I think it's just, oh, I didn't mute my keyboard. It's a Cherry MX Blue. I'm so sorry. It's so loud.
No,
Where from China are you visiting?
Beijing.
Oh, dang.
So
How expensive is the plane ticket?
Oh, no. She's on Zoom with us.
Oh, because you said traveling, so I assume. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. So, see, you can see Belinda's number in there. So yeah, Joan, you can connect with her.
Yeah.
Oh, Belinda, Joan can't use WhatsApp. You have WeChat?
I have the VPN, so yeah, I can use the WhatsApp to connect with.
Okay, she has a VPN. Okay, then.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Then alternative, let me give you my email as well, just in case you. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you so much.
The Great Firewall of China. Good memories.
Yeah.
Oh, when you were studying in Shanghai, how did you get into the internet?
Our school had VPN. This is amazing because in the beginning, China banned Wikipedia, 维基百科, but they banned the Chinese version of Wikipedia, so only the Chinese language of it, so you can still access the English side. And then the day when they banned Wikipedia English version, our whole entire school is in outcry because we were working on a research project at that period. Without Wikipedia, how can we do our research? And then in the end, I think it was 1 or 2 days where Bing, the primary search engine in China, except for Baidu. Baidu is trash. Sorry if I offended anyone, but Baidu is really terrible. When Bing.com was shut down, it was incredible. Probably Bing is only used in China because it's the second best search engine ever. So it was terrible. Doing research was nearly impossible, and gathering information is just a nightmare, especially in the international school when you cannot just gather information from Chinese websites very well.
So does your dad and mom, they use VPN to contact you?
Oh, definitely. My mom is here with me, but whenever my mom shares something on our family chat, my dad is like, oh, damn, my VPN is not working. Send it on WeChat. But it's like, no, we can't send it on WeChat because the government will be whitelisting because, the whole spying and everything. I mean, everyone knows. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah. I bet the government has facial recognition of everyone, including Joan and Samuel.
They do. I mean, I'm a bad citizen. Must have crossed roads wrongly or something. I lived in Shanghai. Wait. Yes?
Sorry. Jaywalking.
Oh, yes.
Why?
Oh, yes. This is a funny story. There's a system that publicly shames anyone who jaywalks. So there's a billboard, I think it was in Suzhou. I'm not entirely sure about that. I need to double check on that. But basically a van with a endorsement of a celebrity drove by, and the facial recognition system thought it was some woman jaywalking. So it took the celebrity's face and then started publicly shaming her face. Yeah, it's quite incredible. I mean, you see it walking the street of Shanghai, Nanjinglu, Xintiandi, you can see the surveillance camera just everywhere, and they keep a social profile of everyone. I mean, it's not saying that they don't do the same in the United States or Singapore. I'm pretty sure they do. Basically, it's it's a thin wire to tread on because you can make the argument that, hey, you know what? If I do nothing wrong, then there's nothing to fear. But nothing wrong by whose standards, right? The Chinese government standard or your standard or the district government standard, or what standard are you subscribing to, right? You could say something that's very logical and generally very true, but if it doesn't align with, what the party might agree with, You might get denied train tickets. You might get denied hotel bookings. You might get denied because everything's linked to your 身份证.
Wait, so it's not a monetary blocking. It is a social blocking.
It's complicated. It's you don't even hear about these in mainland China unless you VPN tunnel out, because all the information about this is blocked. It is very secretive. It is very shady, but they do it for their own reasons and their own national security. And in my opinion, it's a double-edged sword, right? You cut out a lot of the crime, which incredible. I mean, Tianyan, it's just the surveillance camera system, was introduced in UK originally, and the Chinese government took it and installed camera everywhere. I think my great uncle is a forensics doctor. He also works closely with police enforcement, and he works in Guizhou, Guiyang, which is one of the worst, well, the most criminally, well, high crime rate places back then. And back then, investigation was, interviewing witness and everything. And he told me now, cha CCTV. First thing to do is look at the camera record, and they have GPS tracking. It's always on. NFC always on. Bluetooth always on. So whatever Singapore is introducing for the social distancing thing, China already has it probably a decade ago.
Before 911 in 2001, my condo that I was staying in, we had an Englishman who moved in the late 1990s. He was hired by the Singapore government to implement a nationwide video camera surveillance system. The same thing that the British had to catch Irish terrorists from the 80s when they were bombing London. So that same technology the British developed, Singapore brought in the late 1990s. So it was that was a version that first came in, but he was retired in 50s. They brought him in to do the technical implementation in Singapore, and he was here for 7-8 years. Then just before the global financial crisis, his contract finished, he went back. But when we were sitting around the poolside or having some food, he would say that it's very common. All the national governments, even in the continental Europe, they were putting on these cameras just so that they could start implementing facial recognition. That was the very early days. They had so many mistakes, but nonetheless, they were planning facial recognition even in the 1990s.
See, that's the thing, like the duality of security, because first of all, you lose all your security. Spy satellites, which are launched every single year by probably less than hundreds, but into the sky, they can do whatever they want. They can. Great book to recommend, of course. Edward Snowden wrote it. Public Record called, and it's really a complicated topic. National security or personal privacy or privacy. See, the thing is, privacy in the wrong hands is detrimental.